Welcome to the latest edition of the Business Unusual podcast. My name is Gogecho Mamabolo. And today I'm quite happy to be joined by Aasiyah Adams from Abakuli 4IR. And I had to ask Aasiyah to explain how to pronounce it because I'm Northern Sotho. So I wanted to get into the Zulu and I want to touch on that as well, the name Aasiyah, because it's amazing. So welcome to the podcast, and it's fantastic to have you here with me today. I'm really keen to get into the conversation, but obviously we want to always bring out the human side of people. So you're not just your company, you are also Aasiyah Adams. So, I think, to quote former President Thabo Mbeki when he said, on an occasion just such as this, it's best to start at the beginning. So you want to kind of tell me a bit about how you became to be, the founder of Abakuli 4IR, like, your career, where you from, that sort of thing. Just kind of give us some background so we know who Aasiyah is.
Yeah, so in 1922, I'm joking. So yeah, Abogakuli firstly means transformers in Zulu. And so I wanted something that, covers my son, my godson. They are the future, but also something, really catchy in, technology. Transformers obviously is technology, and then transforming lives. And so that's where Abagakuli started. I worked in defense, aerospace, and engineering for many years.
Oh, wow.
And working as an HR manager in that capacity. I was more the BE transformation director, but I had to obviously have a dual role. Was it was an eye-opener. It was a good learning lesson for me because I would see kids coming in, handing in their CVs, at the gate, and just to make a copy is so expensive. But I would see all the gatekeepers inside the company, many companies have that. And I just thought that I would like to be the platform and the place of opportunity for anyone and everyone. And that's where it started. And then one day, my son, we built these, you call it drones, we call it unmanned aerial systems. Well, people call it drones, sorry, not you. But ours are massive. They're the size of an airplane,
Oh,
right? So
wow.
the wingspan is probably the size of a room. And it's an aeroplane. It's a full-on aeroplane, and it goes up 16,000 feet, 500 kilometers autonomously on its own. Okay,
Wow.
so the ground station is a little briefcase, and it has a double screen, and you got a ground station. So it's a full-on aeroplane. And I remember bringing my son because we built, I think at that time we built two, and he walked onto the floor and I showed him everything, and he saw everything. He can literally fit into the airplane. That's how big it is.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So he went back, he came home and he said, the kids don't know what an unmanned aerial system or vehicle is. He knew that, obviously. That was kind of his like, oh, I'm so cool. But what it meant for me was that the average kid on the Cape Flats or in the township won't know. Their parents don't have a social circle. They're not exposed to any of this. And so it hit me. And I'm like, I'm going to take 4IR where it's not seen. I'm going to change the dynamic of how people from disadvantaged communities choose careers, because we choose careers for survival mode. We don't have the luxury of choosing careers. I say I want to take you back a little bit. I come from the Cape Flats. I grew up in Mitchell's Plain. And things that were said to me was like, God's given you a job, keep it. I mean, I was literally it's in town center. There's so much gangs. There's crime right in front of you. People get shot, killed. And my dad was like, it's okay, God's given, don't mess with your work. And you're like, I'm literally going to die. You're okay with it, But I was a bright kid, I could catch on very quickly. I just didn't have the money. I didn't have the environment. I didn't have the social circle. And I vowed that I would give a young person that. They deserve that. Everyone deserves that. They deserve access to opportunity. And not in a nutshell, how Abagotuli started, and that's my motivation. And so I just live for digital and financial inclusivity. That's everyone deserves that in life. Everyone deserves a better life.
So do you maybe want to chat a bit about your work? Because obviously it's a fascinating kind of start. But
Yeah.
what kind of work do you guys do,
Yeah. So we roll out 4-hour training. So we've
Mm,
got 4 drone schools
mm,
nationwide.
mm,
We've got accredited artificial intelligence software development with QCTO, as well as data science practitioner, cybersecurity analyst, technopreneur.
mm,
We do robotics, we do chatbot and mobile app development, and e-commerce development. So
mm,
we do anything that the industry wants, but it translates to money. We are not the company. I never want to be the company that just does training and we don't know how these kids are going to generate an income. We focus on money
mm,
when
mm,
we focus on our training. And
mm,
that's what
mm,
I do. We roll
mm,
out the training. We hope to make an impact.
mm,
We do digital entrepreneurship as well for young entrepreneurs or people that are entrepreneurs to
mm,
digitize their business, to be more efficient and to reach a broader target market. And that's what Abagotuli stands for.
mm,
Money, to grow the economy, to grow a
mm,
healthy economy and to give access to money to
mm,
everyone, to include
mm.
everyone in the economy. Yeah.
And then it's interesting kind of hearing your work because I don't know if you're familiar with Africa Tech Week. So one of the
Yeah.
events that we actually host every year. And as you're talking about all the different kind of things you're doing, I'm like thinking in my mind, if you go to Africa Tech Week, you have a bunch of companies that all do different things, and it's not like you come almost at like the midpoint, you do everything, So you probably have a pretty much of a great perspective on digital transformation in Africa and South Africa and a perspective. And obviously we're and I'm an editor here, so the ChatGPT age that we're in, this generative AI and all this stuff, like it's kind of impacted me in a way. I'm at the point of people ask like, why didn't you use ChatGPT? And I'm quite old school. Like I still write on paper and I want to print things out and see them and that sort of thing. So I'm kind of wondering like how, with the fourth industrial revolution, which for a while kind of felt like it was something that it was like a buzz term that people just throw around, and you hear, government officials talking about it, and we're going to create a commission on 4IR, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just kind of wondering, how is generative AI and, things like machine learning, how is that going to impact South African businesses and, their employees, like how, how will it change how we kind of go about business and how, people who are working in businesses kind of experience working in businesses?
Yeah, I think this is one of the things that I'm hoping in the future to do is to debunk myths of 4IR, especially on the ground.
Mm,
I remembered we built a humanoid, not that intelligent, just
mm,
very little machine learning, but it was built in 1,800 hours on a
mm,
3D printer.
mm,
And we had it on display. I was chosen as one of the top women in AI for the Netherlands embassy. So we had it on display.
mm.
Um, and when the young college and technicon and university kids came, they were like, is this thing going to kill us? And I said, show me your phone. That thing will kill you. Your phone will
Mm,
kill
mm,
and things like, are drones going to shoot us? And I said, they probably can.
mm,
But, you can use any other way to shoot you. You can use an electric car and do a drive-by to shoot you.
mm,
Um,
mm,
I think that's probably where there's a gray area. And so when people come up to me and they say, am I going to lose my job? And I said, if you're doing a repetitive and mundane job, you're going to lose it.
mm,
Done.
mm, mm, mm,
4IR is meant for those repetitive jobs where it remembers. It
mm,
does get more intense. It does get more, when you do the doctors doing the surgery, the robots, but it's still controlled by a doctor. That's the
mm,
difference. Doing an
mm,
MRI or CT scan, it's still controlled. But if we're talking about completely taking out an employee, that's it.
mm,
And so I think the landscape for businesses are that there's more transparency.
mm,
People talk about blockchain and you're like, do you know what it is? No.
mm,
I don't know
mm,
if they
mm.
just associate that with like crypto or you're like, no, it's transparency. So it's
Mm,
interlinked where everything's open. So you kind of rule out or take out all the corruption.
mm,
Um, I think also that we've had three before. We're even coming up with a fifth industrial revolution. The difference is that I speak for myself. My parents didn't have the opportunity to plan. There was just a Great Depression, lost their jobs, nothing. We have. We have the opportunity to plan. We have the opportunity to upskill and reskill. And so I think that's different. If companies don't digitize, they're going to be left out and they're going to close down. No two ways about it. Whether we like it or not, 4R is here to stay. The other thing that I think is good for companies is that they now have access to diverse skills. People are working in the gig economy. They now have access to a more agile project environment. And with agile project environment, so we do strictly Scrum. We don't work on Kanban, but more Scrum. And it's just a preference, is that, you decide what jobs you're going to take. There's more accountability. So there's a stand-up, there's a storyboard. This is what needs to be done. There's an end goal in mind. And then you say, I'll do this. It's more that accountability as opposed to project management. I need you to finish this. And things never get done. I mean, I come from an engineering environment. I've got stories for days. But there's more an objective, end goal milestone, as opposed to I'll just come to work and we'll just wait to see what happens next. And that's really the mindset. There'll also be a transfer of skills in and out. So there'll be a hybrid. There'll be your key staff complement, and then outside there'll be your gig workers. And we've worked in gig, we've worked with gig workers just in a freelance consultancy basis. But this time around, there are platforms for that. So it means that you have access to find people, reputable people, people that have reviews, people that have work that are shown transparently. We don't lie in South Africa. We will call you out in 3 minutes and we'll find everyone, including your dog's vet. We'll find it, So I think that is all the things that will probably happen for females, for thinking of females. For females, obviously, it's better. We're hoping the gap is still very big. But for employees, it means that there's a new world of job opportunities. It's the same as social media manager, traffic manager. These are new jobs. It sounds like they've been around forever. These are new jobs that people don't know. AI software developer is a new job. You find in traditional engineering, you find they can do AI, and you ask them how, and it was self-learn. It was self-taught at least. And so we don't know what all of that is about, but it's an opportunity to then be marketable and to reskill yourself. It's also an opportunity for employees to grow. If I work as a gig worker, one, there's no prejudice. You don't know what I look like. You don't know what I sound like. You don't know anything. I've taken the work off the gig economy site, and I'm doing it, and I submit it to you. You don't care about my accent, the way I look, what I do. You care about what work was out there. You like it, you'll use me again. And now instead of just earning rands, I'm earning dollars, pounds, and euros, and any other currency, African currency out there. So it opens up a global economy. Ultimately, for businesses, it's to be more productive. It's that mundane, repetitive thing that'll go quicker, because the difference between AI and humans, obviously, is that the AI is programmed to remember. So a lot of people are like, they're going to kill us one day, then take over, and they're like, they'll only remember what you taught them. So if you taught them how to kill, they'll probably kill you. That's my life. And so it'll remember better. It'll remember what to do. It has like a health box, and it's like, if this doesn't happen, this happens. Same the way you build a drone. This doesn't happen, it's called first aid. This doesn't happen, this is what happens. If it runs out of options, it crashes. That's it, So that's probably better for companies, and then it opens up access for them for bigger markets as well. So they are now open to a broader target audience, as opposed to just being confined in their little worlds where they are. It is scary, but I think diversity is needed. It's been long overdue. We've seen programs work really well with diverse skills, and we've seen the hunger of young people wanting to learn, and they go forward. Whenever I speak to people, especially people that are not in this country, and I'm being very biased when I say it because that's what I encounter, they always say, you know what, South Africa needs skills. And I say, then why does South Africa have a high unemployment with graduates? We clearly don't need skills. We need to reskill and align our skills. I don't need skills that we needed. All these skills coming out are new. So whoever had the skills before, we are not dismissing them. I'm one of them. I sit with a wealth of knowledge, but I can learn from my son. He has more skills than I. He taught me how to be on Discord and Twitch, and he taught me how algorithms work on TikTok and stuff. And so I feel that transfer is needed, and I feel that a reskill in this country is needed for sure.
It's interesting, actually. Just before the podcast, we're speaking in the office about because we're a mix in the office. We have some boomers, we have some Gen X's, millennials, and then there's the Gen Zs, you know. So we're actually having a conversation, and I read something interesting the other day. It was actually a video that I saw on TikTok, by the way. And I'm a millennial, so actually I heard about TikTok late, and I was still trying to figure it out. Like my aunt actually, who's in her 60s now, got into TikTok before I did. But
Yay, go
now,
girl.
but when you now mention that, obviously your son taught you about Discord and et cetera, et cetera, I'm wondering, would you say that like the Gen Zs, would you say that they have a more of advantage over, say, the millennials and the Gen Xs when it comes to adapting? Like you said, we have to relearn skills. Do you think the Gen Zs have a bit of an advantage because they almost grow up learning those skills naturally, and then I have to like consciously say, okay, I'm going to learn how to use this sort of technology or how to leverage this sort of software or something like that? Like, would you say that there's a generational gap between the generations?
I have an economist friend, and one thing he said once at one of the conferences that he invited me to was, we'll probably have 4 generations in one office at one given time. And you're just an example of it. They have an advantage with probably tech skills, I think, because they grow up with it. And it's so interesting. I just want to digress quickly. So we're teaching graduates, IT graduates, basic digital skills. This is our current project. It's been very popular now with universities. So we teach them agile management, design thinking. We teach them cloud computing, artificial intelligence, so using ChatGPT and other data analytics, digital presentation. And one of it, the digital presentation, is where we teach them on Canva. I don't work on PowerPoint at all. I'm a religious Canva supporter. It's just easier. And my son is 13, and it's the first year he's doing Spanish. He's gone to high school this year. First day he came home and he shows me his presentation on Canva. And he says, we have a premium account. So I'm like, okay, whatever. But it's only things I'm teaching university graduates now. He's 13. So he does have a competitive edge. The problem is that, or not a problem, is that they're gratification, instant gratification kind of generation. And sometimes that doesn't work. So we give up too quickly, and, I don't know where it is. And you're like, it's right in front of me. I don't know where it is. And that's it. And so I think the skill sets are needed everywhere, All the things aren't going to just be obsolete. All the jobs are not just going to be obsolete. We're still going to need managers. And something I watched once was, if anything that we need for the future is how to integrate digital into your workforce or into your job function. It's probably the most important. If you take an example, I'm an HR manager. If I don't know how to work and to check demographics, data analytics, and all of that on the platform, I'm going to get the worst candidate. If I don't know how to input the right keywords or buzzword in there to attract the right candidates, I'm going to. If I don't know how to kind of filter between them, I'm going to. So I can be an amazing person. I can be a very good judge of character when I interview. But if I don't know how to use the platform, and I think that's where the overlap comes in. But from a technical point of view, I think we're better than our parents, and then our parents are better than their parents. So I think technically, yes. But you can have all the technical skills. We're all on TikTok. Not all of us are influencers. So somewhere we're not good at something technically, trying to draw the amount. So we don't want to draw the followers. But I think that's where I'm trying to get at. There should be an overlap, probably, a handover. but more than age, because I don't feel the digital and technology area doesn't discriminate against age. That's the beauty. I mean, you can find, I said the other day, I said, when people ask me, why am I so crazy about TikTok? I said, for the first time, I see just common everyday kids becoming world famous. It is, we've never seen it. It was always just one or two countries where all the pop stars come out and they're amazing. And then, like on Instagram, where everyone's beautiful, on TikTok, it's not about your beauty. It's about what I like. It's about what I connect with, So you'll find an older person, busy painting his house, and I'm watching it. And so, unlike Insta, we're like, oh my goodness, he's old and he doesn't look good. I think that's what I probably appreciate of TikTok more. And then seeing cultures being appreciated, African songs coming up, just seeing that makes you so proud, where even celebs want to meet with you, because you've done something or even said something. So I think that's probably where the future is going. But I think the transfer of skills and knowledge and the diversity is way more important. And we've seen it with some apps where people are saying this app is very racist. They only take people on this. We've seen some apps where you can, I don't know, put on a beauty filter and then everyone who's of color looks different to everyone who's not. And so that's because it's a one set mind that designed that app. Again, AI is input. And so I think the diversity for me is what I would like to see this world become a better place, is diversity and using digital and science and technology for diversity and for change. I think, that's where we really need to see what will be the difference in the future.
Well, makes sense because we're very interested in diversity, and also because obviously we're in the, like you said, the 4IR age. Kind of wondering, we've had a few conversations, whether it's been in articles or in interviews, where people are talking about how there's a bit of a worry that women might get left behind in the revolution, and that like we talk about. I did a podcast last year, not last, was it last or the year before, with Ofenso Mukwena, who's the head of public policy at Uber, and he was talking about how everyone sees Africa as the dark continent. Like there's no development and try. So like, and I always think when people think like that, and that's what he said. Like when you speak to people like you understand that we're not getting, like I just said, my aunt is in her 60s. My aunt had a dompas, and now she's on TikTok. Kind of seeing what's happening in the rest of the world, and she'll share videos with me. And like, I remember when she first got, I was surprised she knows how to download and share it on WhatsApp, whatever. And this is someone who asked me to change the settings on her phone, and I was amazed. I was like, that's the point of technology, is that it's supposed to be accessible to everybody. And you get nice examples like drones being used to deliver medicine, et cetera, et cetera. But now I'm wondering, and it's kind of going back to the skills transfer, the learning aspect. Universities are opening up soon, so I'm wondering, do you think our tertiary institutions, the UCTs and the VETs, et cetera, do you think they're prepared for this age? And if they're not prepared, what can they do to kind of fill the gaps? Because obviously it's a multi-stakeholder thing, that skills development, whether it's the public sector, the private sector, businesses, teachers, so how can tertiary institutions themselves kind of prepare for that?
I think they're trying. We've got a very good relationship with UCT's Tech Hub, Tech and Innovation. So they clearly, all the universities, if you look at them, because we obviously speak to most of them, they're trying. I think back then it was very much theory focused, and then if you're a practical person, you go to University of Technology. That's where you build the thing. Here is where you think about the thing. There you build it with your hands. I think that was kind of the process that was there. How they can change it. I think the one way we can change it is that we can start with small kind of integration of AI apps. What's out there already. Not all of us are going to design an app. And I think that's the one myth I want to take out. We feel like 4IR is just everyone's going to become coders. And you're like, then what? Who's going to use it? Who's going to maintain it? Who's going to, upgrade it? Like all of that. So I think to work with AI, to work with apps, to work with technology. So if you take UCT, and I'm just giving an example, and you are giving them a module on engineering, and we work with engineering students, and one of the projects we're speaking about is when they have to build something. So we have a program for informal traders. We give them the task. So they're amazing at building apps and building processes and whatever, but they're not good at people. They don't have the people skills because, an engineer doesn't really want to talk to anyone. And so we teach all of that because part of design thinking, first thing, empathy. You got to go out and find out, what is it that the people want, that they need. You don't just design because you like it. And so coming from that kind of, gap is teaching them to speak. So I think if I had to approach this thing, because there's obviously a lot of bureaucracy, I don't do well with institutions and politics because I'm an action person. I can't do talk and another meeting and another meeting. I'm terrible at that. And I'm like, what is, where are we going? So I think I would approach everything that they're currently training and just add one element of AI, one element of digital. It will then find its way to what's really needed. It will also make things easier, like they did with the classrooms are online. My son is, like I said, high school, and all his homework is on his iPad. So he literally sits in the car and he's like, I submitted that. So he doesn't walk around with all these books and things. All the things are Google Sheets and as simple as that sounds, so many kids don't have that privilege. So many kids don't have access to that. But if you are going to be at university at that level, surely we should try and automate and try and digitize some of the things, not just the classrooms, but some of the things that needs to be outputted. So example, if you need a survey, surely they can use an app like Monkey or whatever. And so you're giving them one platform. I feel like when I'm around my peers in 4IR, we like to change everything. And when we like to change everything, it'll take forever. That's my opinion. And when we like to change everything, we never do it because we're always trying to do so much. And just a small step, get ourselves there, just a little inclusion. And so even at schools, digitize something, teach them how to digitize or work something. I mean, you'll be surprised of how many of the students didn't know what Scrum is, didn't know how to work on Canva. These are varsity students, and so just the basic digital life skills, that's what we call it. Just the basic, that's it. If we can just get that and integrate that, I think that's probably the way to go. Unfortunately, I don't sit in those hubs to make this statement and say it's that easy. I do know it gets rid of everything needs to be signed off and whatever. And obviously there's an ego kind of fight there as well. But that's how I would do it. If we need to change and fill the gap, small steps, and use what's already out there. I'll give a small example. So a lot of people are looking like, oh, we want to go into crypto, I want to do investments. And there's such a beautiful app. It's called Easy Equities. And I want to promote them because I know who the developers are. And if you know the objective behind it, it's made for people of color who didn't grow up with the environment of having investment knowledge. My daddy never invested. I said to my brother, we are the first generation that actually has a policy. As old as I am, I'm the first generation, and so you can invest anything. I think it's from 2 Rand or from 10 Rand, I'm not sure. And it's overseas investments, it's massive corporates like your top banks that you can invest in, and you kind of have a chain investment, and it's online. And it's Stokfeller works the same, it's just property. And so these are things that I just feel it's already there. Like why are we reinventing the wheel? Why are we trying to do our own? Everyone wants to design an app. We get calls every day because we design apps as a service. And I'm like, found out what the market's like. And if you do design this thing, are you doing the market simultaneously? I think we're a generation and we're in that period of just designing apps. And tomorrow it's going to be the best thing ever. Okay, maybe not. We can duplicate, but have we really kind of looked at the market? So that's what I would do. I'd first look what we have and then integrate that into our learning space, integrate that into our workspace, and then build from it. Start at least, work from somewhere. If you don't do that, you're just going to be running around doing nothing. So many meetings, so much coffee, and we just don't get anywhere.
And that actually makes perfect sense, because I think with the technology, people, because it's obviously so technical, and there's the, people want to think that it's complex, like how to use it and what to use and what not. When, like I get amazed oftentimes at how a lot of what we imagine as future technology is already here right now. It's just, it might not be widely accessible yet, but it's there. Like, last year we had Will I Am, the musician, and a little hologram type thing at our event. And people were like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. And it's kind of like, he did that for the first time like 2008, so it's not like a new thing, it's just kind of you're rediscovering it in a way. And I kind of wonder, because you mentioned like the basic stuff, because now I'm thinking about the skills, so what could you identify certain like skills that you think people need, like to thrive in a workplace? And and how do you guys go about identifying those kind of skills?
Look, the skills that's going to be needed in the future is firstly problem solving, which means you must listen. Got to have listening skills. Don't see that happening. I feel a lot of our success are about we are able to relate to the client, and we are able to tailor make something that suits them. And that's also where our company, where it's going, is around what the industry needs, both commercially and socially. So I think problem solving, flexibility, listening, creativity, and innovation, definitely. There's no way you can. I sat in a boardroom one day, and I come from defense, and I really love those guys. And they were like, so I'm not a technical person on that level. They are the gurus, right? But I sit obviously in these top management meetings and exco, and we sit with the shareholders and stuff. And I sat and I said, guys, we haven't changed. We've been around for 60 years. And they said, what do you mean? We've evolved. And in the boardroom are all the models. So when we have clients, it's that boardroom where the demos are there.
Oh,
I
okay.
said, have a look at each and every one. They were all square, all black, not a different shape. And so I think that's going to be, without a doubt, if you can't think that way, critical skills. And that's what we're trying to achieve with our university students. I said, if you've got the critical skills, you're going to move way above everyone else. You're on a year internship now. You definitely absorbed and definitely in another position. Done. And so it's the critical skills, it's the flexibility, adaptability, entrepreneurship, taking ownership. So it's like entrepreneurship, but entrepreneur, like it's your own little shop, your own little department that you're doing. Definitely social awareness. There's no way you can go on with blinkers and my way. And South Africa does this. We don't live in South Africa anymore. We live. I mean, my son came home and he said, and I'm just using him as an example because he's the youngster that I can relate to. And he said, two of the Italian friends were struggling a little bit. And I'm like, wow, I went to school and I couldn't say Italian friends.
Yes.
Everyone was like 2 doors away from me. But can you imagine what they talk about? Can you imagine that
Yes.
conversation? And that's, I think that's the beauty of it. You're going to need tech skills without a doubt. There's no way that you are not able to do everything without tech skills. How do we identify these skills? We follow trends. We follow the World Economic Forum. That's like, our vibe. We follow, I sit on the 4-hour committee for South Africa with MICT-CETA, so I'm quite ahead of things like that. And the beauty is that they're trying to design, Kugusema is one of the, is the head at the 4-hour for MICT-CETA, and she gets all this inputs. And what they're trying to design is accessibility, where kids that finish school are able to do it as well, because we all can't afford university. But I think that's how we identify it, engagement, following trends. And we have one rule: if that tech skill doesn't bring in money, we're not going to teach it. That's it. We are ashamed of talking about money in this country. I'm always amazed. I sit at all these philanthropic meetings, and all we talk about is how we need to change the landscape, and we need to build better and more love and less crime. And I'm like, how about teaching them to make more money? Because let's not beat around the bush. That's our problem, is that people aren't making enough money. You know, and if they move on, someone else moves in their space, and that's how you kind of evolve the economy. And so we want to be the leaders in, firstly, gig, but we also want to be the leaders in, when we finish our training, you make money immediately. We don't want the, let's wait for CETA, no disrespect, I love CETA, to send the results, or let's wait to look around for jobs. We want you to work immediately. You're sitting at home, go and work, find work. Doesn't have to be a company. It's on a gig platform. We will then upload you. We will put you on there, your profile, and you make money. Lives need to be transformed. I didn't have a really good Christmas. Just
I'm
before.
sorry.
No. I'll tell you why. Sorry. One of our sponsors said, please send us 3 things. Is it urban or rural? How much they're earning, and how many people are in the household? So it was something we didn't ask. And then all our students are rural. And what really amazed me, so now this input, I don't normally check operational stuff. I'm terrible with details, right? But somehow I opened this thing. I don't know why. And I looked only there, not at the whole spreadsheet. And I looked only at that column. I think the highest earner was 2,000 Rand. People with 5, 6 people in a household. So I'm even emotional just thinking about it. One of the learners were earning 980 Rand per month in a household. Are these learners lazy, or they don't want to work? These are learners that have finished their degree on NSFAS. These are learners that walk kilometers to go to the nearest university out of a rural area. And so I'm tired of the narrative that we are a lazy nation, that they want to live like this, or whatever other racist or derogatory comment, because there are kids out there trying their very best. And then they go to the workplace, and there are gatekeepers who undermine them because of their accents, or the way they look, or the way they dress, and you're like, will they ever get a break? And I remembered when I started the drone school, you know, when you draw up your business, your persona on your business Canva, I said, this is the person that everyone sees just pushing a trolley, getting a 2 Rand here, or looking after your car. This is the person that gets a packer's job. And I've got a video that we filmed, some of our learners. The one learner had to do 4 hours travel to our school and 4 hours back. She lives in Versantikral. And we follow her in Versantikral with a drone. And we do this video, and she says she wants to break that stereotype, like people like me from my area can't be. And the one boy is on the Cape Flats, he's from Lavender Hill, and he wakes up in the morning and he says, I'm blessed. You know why? I fly drones. Like the reality kicked in. He's from Lavender Hill. There's gangsters everywhere. Everybody probably thought that he'll go and, you know, do a casual job, working construction or whatever. And there he's walking in Lavender Hill with his bag. He's a drone pilot. And I think that's what I wanted more than anything. I know they'll make money out of it, but what I wanted was that kind of, just bring that morale back, and just that confidence. And doesn't matter how he speaks, doesn't matter where he lives. He's a drone pilot, you know, and he can do a lot of things for you. And he's in demand. And if he decides tomorrow, no, I actually want to work. And the minute they see drone pilot, it doesn't matter what he studied after that. It's impressive.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that's probably where I would like to see us contribute, us as Abaguli, contribute towards the economy, to growing communities, to growing individuals with the right skills, man. They can add the rest to it. You know, lifelong learning, we promote that. But if you have the right skills, like we had a class where we taught chatbot development, mobile app, digital marketing, and e-commerce development. And these were kids who didn't finish school. And so if you at that school, right around there are drug lords waiting for kids to fail. We've had a rape case where we had to send them for counseling. One day I just came to do a check-in. How's everyone? I'm the cool person. I don't have to deal with operations, right? And I actually love it. And a few ladies called me one side and they said, I know you've put us in groups now because we're now busy with practicals, but we don't want to be in this group. We want this guy to be in our group. And I said, I don't really make this. And they said, they're busy initiating him into a gang. We want to put him back. These are the realities out there. And they were earning 1,800 Rand per month on a stipend. And I would get messages saying they earn 15,000 Rand this month, 30,000 Rand this month. They've moved from one place to from a Wendy house to an RDP house. That's movement. That's progress, and now they're collaborating to take on bigger projects and stuff. And so, yeah, of course, not everyone's going to have a success story, but we should celebrate success stories as well. It's not easy. You're being brought down, not just by the outer world, but your own environment as well, and we even made the classes that it's not every day. So I'd say give a long lesson, like whole day, so they skip the next day. Because I know the kids use the money for electricity and food, their stipends. It's a reality. I don't know why we go like they're supposed to have money. Really, you're earning 1,800 and there's nobody eating at your house. What are you going to do? Are you just going to be like, no, it's my transport money, I must save it? So we thought ahead already. And so I think that's probably where we want to be. We want to be the leaders in the gig economy. And the most important reason is it's access to opportunities for everyone in the gig economy. So when we talk about the gig economy, talk about the Uber and the Bolt and the Mr. Delivery, we're missing the digital side, the technology side. I read an article, it says 30% of our engineering work is outsourced to other countries. But we're on a 56%, and I'm not quoting this, but that's the last I read, graduate unemployment. How does that work? Which means that somewhere there needs to be reskilling, somewhere there needs to be a different way of doing things, somewhere we trust other people more. And I've worked a lot with foreign companies. In the company that I worked, you can hear this guy doesn't know what he's doing, but he's going to learn. And he's going to bring you results. And now all of a sudden we're like, they do it better. No, they're in survival mode, maybe across the border, and they work together as a community and they teach themselves because they know the importance of getting this project right in the short period of time because they know we're going to use them again. And billions are spent on outsourcing engineering work. Millions. We are losing millions to other countries. And it's not that I'm being selfish, but I mean, we got to take care of our home first when we have such high unemployment in our own country. So that's probably why we're doing this. So we're like, these are the skills needed. This is what we're going to provide so that people make money and better themselves.
And it's refreshing to hear that kind of perspective, because it's actually quite common that people will finally find a job or they're getting an internship so to learn skills or whatever, but now obviously there's the challenge of, okay, how do I get to work? How do I do this? Like, it's quite a common problem. South African people finally do get a job because you haven't been paid for the first month, you can't even get there, and and now you're missing out on an opportunity because. So it's refreshing to see that, and kind of goes back to what you said earlier, learning I think they refer to them as soft skills, not just as an employee, but also as someone who's an organization that's bringing people in. If you can not only teach them skills, but also while you're doing that, do that with empathy and know that, sometimes, like you said, you can't judge a person by their language or the whatever. Like, everyone deserves an opportunity because at the end of the day, it's what you can do, not necessarily what you say, So I think it's refreshing to hear that, because that's a perspective that I don't think people often consider. It's like, it's okay, I gave you these skills, that's where it ends. And the fact that, after they're done, with the training, they still come back to you and let you know, hey, I moved to this, like, that just shows that this wasn't just a transaction in a way. There was a relationship built there. And, I'm wondering, what advice would you give to, other organizations or other people that are trying to kind of learn that empathy? Like, what would you say is like kind of the secret to making sure that you're not just doing the bare minimum, you're also kind of considering the other factors that make a person who they are?
I think besides the people skills and all of that, I think just ask yourself, even if you don't care about communities or not on the ground,
Mm,
where is this training going? I'm
mm,
anti-business admin
mm,
completely. I'm very vocal about it. I'm like, what is this person doing for a full year to learn business admin that a company don't teach them in 1 week in induction? I come from
mm,
HR.
mm,
There's
mm,
a set email, how you do it, whatever, whatever. And
mm,
so really, what are they doing with business admin? I mean, if we ask ourselves that hard questions.
mm,
Secondly, if you have kids or have family that have kids,
mm,
will they do the training? And
mm,
then what will happen to them? Is it good
mm,
enough for them? Because
mm,
my training is good enough for my son, you
mm,
know?
mm,
And
mm,
everything that I'm doing and that he likes, or everything he likes, I'm trying to see, oh, where can we go with this? So we're busy designing gaming development now. My
mm,
son said to me, I said, you want to be a gamer? Must mommy get you a coach? And he said, I want to be a gaming developer. And so
mm,
I'm like, he's right. Like I didn't think that way.
mm,
The other advice I think is, why are we shying away from money? I
mm,
had a very funny conversation with somebody about money. And I said, when I grew up, I always believed that when you're rich, you're unhappy. This
mm,
saying happened all the time. And then I'm like,
mm.
but I've seen a few rich people that look quite okay. When he looked in his Porsche, I didn't sense any, unhappiness there.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think it was demonized because we must understand that our parents couldn't afford it.
Mm,
And so, and in that time, it was the only place they could display dominance was at home. And so we needed to look up to them, and they always had the answers. They never said, I
mm,
don't know, like we do it now. They're
mm,
like, whatever they say, it's my answer. Don't question it. That's it. And so
mm,
I think that's probably what I had to unlearn, because I'm like,
mm,
if I make money, I can give money.
mm,
And I find it very strange when we do digital entrepreneurship and I sit in maybe on the first day, just tell us why you're doing this and whatever. Every person of color is doing it, one, to make a difference, and two,
mm,
they always add, I want to start this company to give back.
mm,
Always. It's
mm,
like a tagline. And you're like, how about starting the company and giving back and separating the two?
exactly.
You know,
Mm,
if I can make Louboutins and that's not giving back,
mm,
but
mm, mm,
the profits that I make from that, I
mm,
can give back, and I can give
mm,
back more. So we
mm,
never we almost that guilt, I think. So I think if organizations can just ask, what impact is it? And can we talk about money in this country? Can we
mm,
talk about making money in this country?
mm,
Can we talk about the unequal economy in our country?
mm,
And the hard questions and how we must fix that, it just, I feel like we always shy away. It's always a kumbaya and sort of like a savior complex when have you really identified all the amazing people? They're poor, they're not
mm,
uneducated, they're not
mm,
stupid, they're not,
mm,
and it's almost like the two goes together. Like we're giving them an opportunity, and you're like, what if they give us something? What if
mm,
they give
mm.
us better ideas? What if they give us the next top app,
Yes.
and that's why we looked at informal traders, because I said, I want to be, remember there was a period where models weren't the usual look. And what
Mm,
happened was scouters were now going out and just
mm,
going to coffee shops, just going to Kentucky.
mm,
And you're like, these girls are beautiful. You didn't have to come to an agency and all of that.
mm, mm,
I want to be that scouter, in the
mm,
informal trade and say, do you know that this person has the potential to grow in a
mhm,
community where you can
mhm,
use the community, and that rand drops there 5 times, that grows our economy? All it
mm,
needs is a little bit of nudge and help with digitization. That's it.
mm, mm,
Let the
mm,
digitization part take away all the things that they can't do or don't feel like doing. Like the
mm,
one thing that we did, that we designed was, I said, I'm just taking a lady baking cake. She bakes a
mm,
cake. She sells it for 650. She takes that
mm,
650, she spends it.
mm,
That's it. Tomorrow,
mm,
she's not sure where she's going to get flour or whatever. That's it. So I
mm,
said, what if we design something that every time she spends it, she just
mhm,
puts it into this.
mm,
No thinking, no spreadsheet, income statement, nothing. just puts it in. Just bought 20 rand sugar, because that's the amounts that they buy, small amounts, especially in the smaller communities. At the end of the day, she knows how much she spent. Not accurately, but it's also changing her mindset of trying to be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't just buy it at Pick n Pay. Maybe I should buy in bulk when I go to the wholesaler or something. And then at the end of the week, if she's baked 20 cakes, it tells her what a profit is without her working it out. Is it accurate? No, of course not. There's so many things to take into consideration. But did she do that before? No.
No.
You know, so I think that is something that I want organizations to think about. And the other thing is you got to have a balance. And I think the only way you have a balance of, because anyone can manipulate any situations, you know. So some kids will just, they'll be like, the roof went off my house and I can't come in, when they maybe just party too much or whatever. So you kind of just, and the only way you have that balance is if you're on the ground. You know these things already. You've been around. I remembered once, and I learn every day. I remembered once somebody called me and they said, there are 2 kids that wants to be on the program, but they only have a birth certificate. They are 20. I said, what in the, like, how are you 20 and don't have one? And I came to have a meeting that afternoon, and these 2 kids were sitting there, and I thought, you know what, let me approach them. And so I called them one time and I said, so what's the problem with your birth certificate and whatever? And they said they come from an orphanage. And so they didn't need a birth, an ID, and it costs money here and then. I said, let them get their ID. Imagine I didn't care, or anybody didn't care. Even the people on my program, you can see the people that we select obviously have a heart. Imagine they just dismissed them because the criteria says South African ID, boom, 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 and they said they don't have, take them out. They got the ID, were on the program, and were one of our top learners on the program as well. Is it their fault that they're orphans? Is it their fault that they don't have it? Is it their fault that nobody cared for them? And so we're going to throw them aside? Get to know the communities, get to know what's happening in the areas. We don't always know all the areas we work in. Gqeberha, on the one side, was new to me. So we know one side of Gqeberha, but we don't know this side. I don't know the difference. And so we mixed with, we partnered with an MPO to help us manage the project, because we can't go in and say, you, this is how we do it. This is what we want. Life doesn't work like that. And when you do that, there's a blockage. They're not going to give you a successful program. I think that's why I don't know many training providers that have the same people starting to end numbers as we do in really, really challenging areas. So I think that's one of the reasons that we have it. We're also very flexible. We're like, okay, well, we understand, we see this pattern, so we kind of act as a strict mom, but then we like, maybe we shouldn't, maybe we should give them some slack. And I think that's where you need to understand communities. If you don't, speak to people who do, who live in those communities, who understand it, and they'll probably take the message better from them and understand the problem and understand if it's a universal problem, you know? That's my advice that I can give. I don't know what we're doing differently, because I feel it's fundamental. So to me, it's not a thing. To me, it's just what you're supposed to know. This is, if you're an MPO, this is what you're supposed to do, you know. But I feel a lot of the MPOs, when I look around, are doing things because they need the glory for the sponsors. You can't blame them. I mean, sponsorships and funding is difficult, but somehow try and, you know, wherever you can. We were given money to do adult education training, ABET, the old ABET. And I said, no way am I teaching ABET without any digitization. And so we negotiated with a, I think that time it was a Google provider, to give a free platform on something, to pay a cheaper rate given our circumstances. And they got both. They did AET and digital skills, you know, Google digital skills. So I think that's what works for us. And then, yeah, just keep on listening, man. Keep on listening to what people want. You know, people need and what people want and what works for them. Because you'll say, I don't have people in the classroom, they just don't attend, when I mean, we had kids not coming to the classroom, and when the project manager asked, they said there was a massive storm. Nobody told us. We had a learner who gave birth probably like the Wednesday. So the Wednesday was the class. She said she won't make it for the Monday or the Wednesday next week. She'll make it the following week. And then she told one of the trainer, she didn't tell the project manager, I gave birth. She was back. So, like if they say like you're not here for 2 days, you're just gone, I think that's a little bit, yeah. I think we need to understand there are social circumstances here.
Well, that's empathy. So that you can't teach people empathy. It's kind of
Absolutely.
either you have it or you don't. So I'm really it's been fantastic to kind of hear about your work, and also I can see the passion. So I think more often than not, people speak about things but not with the same passion, and passion makes a difference. So congratulations on kind of where you reached, and I hope you just get bigger and bigger. Maybe the next time we chat, you're gonna tell me about how you're in Kenya or you're in
Yeah,
Morocco.
Rwanda first.
Yeah. Rwanda first, yes, yes.
Rwanda
So
is the
that'll be
tech
fantastic.
capital of Africa. That's where we first want to be. And then probably Botswana. That's our engagement now. And definitely Kenya.
Mm.
Yeah, that's in the
Mm.
pipeline. Those
Mm,
three.
mm, mm. Fantastic. So I'm definitely gonna keep an eye on what you guys are up to, and we'll probably get a chance to chat again sometime in the future. So it's been fantastic to have you as a guest. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but I've really enjoyed chatting to you, and it's made me think a bit as well about certain gaps in my own thinking. And I think like we're always looking for lessons to give our audience. We want people to learn from other people who've kind of gone through these things. So I think you especially when you mention like you're giving advice to people that I think you should take into consideration. And hopefully, as I say, it's what do you say? That you eat an elephant a bite at a time. So a podcast at a time, change the landscape and become a more empathetic country. So thank you so much, Asia. And yeah, hopefully we'll chat soon.
Thank you. And thank you for being our mouthpiece to tell our story.
Mm,
It's so important,
mm,
and I'm sure there are many people out there, organizations, companies doing amazing work. And if we
mm,
don't get this opportunity with people like you,
mm,
and platforms like this, then,
mm,
we kind of don't get the exposure or the support or the funding or sponsorships or whatever, or business. So thank
mm,
you. I
mm,
don't
mm,
think people understand the power of media.
mm,
um, Still, it hasn't
mm,
changed. That hasn't
mm,
changed.
mm,
Radio, podcasts, any form of media, it
mm,
hasn't changed. And the power of PR,
mm,
because people look for credibility these days
mm,
and they want to know who you are. So
mm,
thank you, and keep
mm,
doing what you guys are doing. You're
mm,
amazing. And
mm.
keep the blend of all the ages
Yes.
in the
You see, I'm
office.
wearing a colorful shirt. I made a joke before. I said the shirt it crosses the generation. Everyone likes it, so I'm happy that we're
Nice,
a
nice.
nice mix.
Everyone's in favor of it.
Yes. All
Nice.
right.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much.
Asa, and then we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you. Take care.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.